just for those who can't join us. All right, buyer and seller consultations is what we're going into, week 5 of the mentorship program. And now we're going to talk about structuring a buyer appointment, structuring a pre-listing appointment, using the marketing presentation booklet, explaining your services and your value, discussing commission professionally, and understanding financing types and pre-approval requirements. You definitely need to be confident in your abilities when meeting with a client before you go under contract with them. Trust me, people can smell your fear. They can smell your fear. Jamie's nodding her head. So, why the consultations matter? Now, keep in mind that appointments will win you business, but the appointments also determine whether you secure a client, whether your expectations are clear, whether trust is established, and whether problems arise later. Professional agents educate before they negotiate. So if you control the appointment, you control the transaction. Let's talk about the structure of the buyer consultation. And I think this is a step that we often miss as professionals. So a professional buyer consultation includes the following: introduction and credibility. They want to know who you are and why you are qualified to represent them as a buyer. Agency explanation. You need to explain the agency relationships to the client. Keep in mind that some buyers are doing this for the very first time. And if they're not doing this for the very first time, maybe it's been a while since they've been in a relationship with an agent. So it's important to explain to them in what capacity you can represent them. Market education. You should know your local market area. How many listings are currently available? What's the average sale price? How long are listings lingering on the market before they are going under contract? What's in the area? Okay, so where are they going to shop? Where are they going to go to? Where are they going to bank? Where's the local parks? What is there to do? What are all the amenities of the market? And a lot of times we think of like amenities as like, you know, housing complex or things like the HOA and as a public pool. But think about this bigger. I'm currently sitting in Grove City. And if I was selling a home in Grove City, I would need to know what Grove City has to offer. Okay. I'm an Elwood City girl. And when people would come into Elwood City, I would tell them that if they're going to go and get a cup of coffee in the morning, I would go to National Grind. They have the best coffee. And if they wanted a snack after dinner, they could go to Elwood City Ice, which is on Lawrence Avenue. They could also go down to Barry's Ice Cream, which is over by the park. I would tell them about the amenities of Elwood City, like the foods and arts, the Arts and Crafts and Food Festival that happens the 4th of July weekend every year in Elwood City. Like the whole city shuts down for this event. So know your market. You definitely want to go over financing options with them. And we don't expect you to be a lender, but we do expect you to know enough to start pointing them in the right direction. Timeline discussion. And this kind of leads into expectations as well, because the next one is expectations and communication standards. But timeline discussions is setting up proper expectations with your client. Understanding when they need to be in a home, helping them understand how long it's going to take them to find the home that they're looking for, the offer process, how long it's going to take to close, all of those things. And then we look at communication standards, which is very, very important. How they like to communicate, how often they want to be communicated with. This is all important. Who's the primary contact? Who's the primary? Not saying that, you know, if there's a couple that you shouldn't communicate with them both, but who's going to be the point person in this transaction? And offer strategy overview. So talking about different strategies when helping them write their offer and get their home. Come on, there it goes. Oh, now it skipped one. All right, explaining agency to buyers. You must clearly explain who you represent, the fiduciary responsibilities to them, compensation structure, and what happens in dual agency situations. who you represent. Okay, if you're representing a buyer, then you need to let them know, hey, I represent you and your interests. You're also going to want to explain dual agency to them as well. If you have listings and say, listen, if I represent a seller and you want to put an offer in on that property, that would be considered dual agency. Okay, and you need to explain what that looks like. Fiduciary responsibilities. We remember fiduciary responsibilities from our testing, but who remembers the acronym when talking about fiduciary responsibilities? Does anybody remember that? No? There's 6 pillars of fiduciary responsibility.
Marlene? Isn't it old car?
Old car. Yes. Great job, Marlene. Old car. Okay. So let's do this real quick. Cute little side note. What does the O stand for?
Obedience.
Got it. What does the L stand for?
Loyalty.
Loyalty. Good. What does the D stand for?
I don't remember.
Anybody? Does anybody know what the D stands for? Disclosure. C. What does C stand for? Joe, do you know what C stands for?
Confidentiality.
Confidentiality. You got it. What does A stand for? This is always the tough one.
Accountability.
Accounting and accountability. Yes. What does the R stand for? Reasonable care. Reasonable care. So those are your fiduciary responsibilities to your client. They were not just so that you could pass your board exams. This is something that will follow you through your whole career, is fiduciary responsibilities. And basically, this is about putting their needs above your own. Putting their needs above your own. So if you can remember that, you are golden. Always put your clients' needs above your own. Compensation structure. You want to start talking about compensation with them and helping them understand what your compensation are, what your compensation is, and what happens in dual agency response and situations. Pre-approval and financing basics. And I saw Anthony jump on, but I think he had jumped off. But pre-approval and financing basics, before showing more than one home, you need to verify with a pre-approval letter or help them attain one, confirm the lender contact information, understand what type of loan they have, and discuss budget realistically. Many buyers will come to you seeking assistance with getting approved. This is part of your job, to guide them and direct them to the professional help. So I hear a lot of agents, they'll say, well, I won't show a house to a buyer unless they're pre-approved. And I mean, a lot of people won't. A lot of people won't. I always lived under the rule that my buyer consultation happens at the first showing. All right, that's my buyer consultation period. Instead of trying to get them into an office, which is very, very difficult to get to a buyer into an office to sit down to do the buyer consultation, I'll get a lead or I'll get a call or somebody will say, hey, I want to see a house, and I'll meet them at the first house without ever asking them if they're pre-approved. But at that appointment, that is when I do the buyer's consultation for 2 reasons. One, it really helps to break the ice when you're starting to build that rapport and relationship with clients. It gives you something to talk about. 2, a lot of clients don't know how to get pre-approved. They don't know where to go. They don't know who to ask. They don't know where to start. And believe it or not, it's our job to help guide them and educate them to the processes that will help them become homeowners. Now, I'm not telling anybody here to go out and show 15 houses to an unpre-approved buyer, okay? Because I've gotten that before. Well, Christina, no, that's not what I'm saying. We do not want to run non-approved buyers all over town and waste our time. We don't want to do that. But if you're showing one house without them being pre-approved, in my book, that's okay. Because at that appointment, it's our job and our opportunity to help them get pre-approved. And then that's providing them with the value that they need to select us as their agent. Pre-approval and financing basics. The most common types of financing options we see in residential real estate is going to be conventional, FHA, VA, and USDA style financing. So understanding loan types will help you educate your clients as they search for their home. Now, we are going to go more into financing types and more mortgage info. We've also started a Mortgage Monday. Make sure that you're coming in for that, where we have Anthony on, and he's talking about a lot of these programs and how they work and what happens behind the scenes. So I'm not going to deep dive into financing basics right now, but just know those terms. Conventional, FHA, VA, USDA are the most common ones that you are going to hear. Oops, sorry, I clicked a little too quickly. Conventional and the other three, all of the A's, I call them, have different roles when it comes to financing. If you're doing anything with an A, any type of government style loan, there's going to be different conditions that a conventional financing option will not have. One of those is going to be HUD required standards. So our HUD required standards say that the home has to be in a certain condition or the lender will not provide the loan on it. And that's one of the biggest factors when we're looking at whether a client should go conventional or whether they should go with a government style loan. Some common things that FHA, VA, and USDA will hit is peeling, chipping paint, not having handrails where there are steps, drip legs on hot water tanks, roof conditions, termites and pests, those types of things. So again, we will deep dive into these in another lesson, but just so that you can kind of understand when they give you a pre-approval, kind of look for those terms because that's going to tell you exactly what type of home that they need to be in. Also, USDA is a territory specific loan. So USDA is in more rural areas. So you would have to check the USDA eligibility map to see if the property is approved for a USDA style home loan program. If it is in a major city, it probably will not be because it is based on population density. So always check that map. And it does change every year. So if you've looked at it one year and you're saying, oh, okay, well, this such and such a town is automatically USDA financeable, it may not be because they change the maps yearly. A good thing to have on hand is your home buyer's guidebook. So Realty One has tools to help you succeed. So if you log into rotuagent.com, you can download your copy of the home buyer's guide to educate your home buyers on the home buying process. This is great for first-time home buyers. It's a great little handout to give to them on your first appointment. It is 100% free and customizable to you. Now, setting up buyer expectations is so important. The more expectations you set up front, the least problems you're going to have later on. So unmet expectations creates conflict between you and your clients and can also cost you money. It can actually cost you the sale. So make sure that you're discussing with your buyers the market competitiveness, whether the market that they're looking in, and I mean the specific market, whether we're in a very competitive market, whether we're experiencing a buyer's market, whether we're experiencing multiple offers, you need to kind of let them know what's going on within the market. You also need to discuss with them offer strength, how they can present a strong offer, what makes a strong offer versus a weak offer in most people's minds. So strategize with them, talk to them, how inspections and loading it with inspections and contingencies will affect their ability to get their offer accepted. These are all going to be important conversations to have with your buyer. Earnest money. We see missing earnest money or lack of earnest money all the time. It is important to notify your buyers that earnest money is required when they're writing an offer and follow up on that earnest money to ensure that it gets paid. Also help them understand the purpose of earnest money, which we talked about in the last week's session. And also what happens if there is, an argument between the seller and the buyer over the earnest money. Okay. One thing we never tell our buyers is, oh, if you cancel this contract, you'll absolutely get your earnest money back, because that's not always the case. Talk to them about the inspection process, how that works, how much time they have to do it, and what that looks like and what the average cost is for inspections. You want to talk about timelines to close, and that's going to be wildly different depending on the situation. Pennsylvania, our deals take a little longer to close than Ohio. So Ohio, you can actually close them out quicker. In Pennsylvania, it takes a little bit longer. You're going to want to look at their loan programs, where conventional can close much faster than programs like FHA, VA, or USDA because of underwriting times. And communication, Candace, when you are available and when you are not available. We all need to have work-life balance. We don't expect you to be available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. But if you don't set up those expectations with your buyers, they may expect that. So make sure you let them know, hey, my normal working hours are this day through this day from this time to this time. If I'm available outside of those hours, I will definitely get to you. But just so that you know, I do have other obligations. And it's okay to say that. Set up those expectations in advance. One of the little tricks I like to give agents, and I used to do it myself, is put your working hours on your email signature. And it's okay to put in there, my traditional working hours are this day through this day, this time to this time. All emails, text, or correspondence I receive outside of these working hours will be returned at my earliest convenience or during the next working day. Okay, so that is okay, as long as you're setting up those expectations in advance. If you tell your clients you are available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, then you better be available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, because they're going to hold you to it. Jamie's nodding her head. She's like, yep, yes, they will.
Good, bad, or indifferent.
Good, bad, or indifferent. They are going to hold you to it.
Yes.
All right, the seller consultation appointment framework. A professional listing consultation includes the following: a thorough property walkthrough, market analysis discussion, pricing strategy with your client, marketing plan presentation, service breakdown, commission discussion, and again, timeline expectations. Your preparation into your appointment with a seller builds authority. And the seller consultation is so important because I tell you what, I do tell everybody with buyers, you shouldn't skimp on those buyers. Those buyers need to be communicated with and educated, but the seller automatically 9 chances out of 10 is interviewing more than one agent. You are one agent in the crowd. You need to stand out and show the seller that you are serious and that they have arrived at just the right agent. So you need to present your marketing plan. Years ago, when I had a team, we came up with a marketing plan, and I loved this marketing booklet, especially for new agents that I would bring onto my team, because this really helps you build confidence and know what you're supposed to say next. This also helps you put it into a visual aid that your sellers get to see. And not all people do really good with talk. It's the same way when we're doing these trainings. I have a PowerPoint presentation for you because sometimes it sticks better if you can see it in front of you. Sellers are no different. I used to love nothing more than being the third agent that showed up at the appointment. And I would come to the dining room table and I would see a stack of blank listing documents with a paper clip and a business card attached to them, because I knew that these clients had not been presented a marketing plan that I couldn't outshine. Like, do not show up with a listing contract and a smile. You will not get the listing. You will not. Prep accordingly. So we've put this marketing presentation book together for you as new agents that will really help you fit into that role of being a marketing professional for your clients, because that's what we're doing for the sellers, is we're marketing their property. And I used to come in with my big binder, and I used to tell the seller, listen, I know it's been a long day for you. I know I'm the third agent on the scene. I don't want to take too much of your time, but I do have a presentation I'd like to go through with you. If you could be so kind to let me do that. Understand that I market myself in a similar way that I will market your property. All right. So I have put this together to show you why I am the right fit to sell your home. But understand that I will take as much time and effort in marketing your home as I do in marketing my ability to sell it. Okay. So that was my line for, my line for the sellers. All right. Your book should demonstrate professional photography, online marketing exposure, social media promotion, your MLS strategy, your open house strategy, and your brand positioning. You are not selling a sign, you are selling a strategy to your sellers. So let's talk about a value-based service model, because that's how I always ran. And keep in mind, with these marketing books, this is a place where you start. Your marketing book that we have created for you, you may not use for your entire career. You may use, as you get into being really good as a listing agent, you may change it. You may alter it. You may add things. You may take it away. You may make it your own. And that's the point. Okay, that's the point. This is just your starting point to get you comfortable, to get you confident, to have conversations about what you should be talking about. But don't be afraid a year from now to really make this your own, okay? Because you're all unique. You all have different value propositions. But one of the things we have in there is a value-based service model. So this is a commission menu. A lot of times agents will walk into a listing and the very first thing a seller will ask is, what do you charge? And my response wasn't, oh, I charge 4%, or I charge 3%, or I charge 2.5%. I never said that. My response was a golden one, okay? Because I know that they already asked 2 or 3 other agents before I got there, how much do you charge, right? So my response to a seller that says, before we get started, how much do you charge? My response was always, I don't know. How much do you want to pay? And they would say, excuse me? Depends. How much do you want to pay? I offer a value-based service model. So I don't have a set commission, but I do have a set set program depending on either what services you want or what you want to pay. I know that some of my clients need to save money because they're tight on their payoff or they're upside down in their mortgage, and I have a program for that. I also know that there's clients out there who want the most for their home and they want those additional services. Well, I also have a program for that as well. All right. So this is part of your marketing packet. This kind of takes the guesswork out of negotiating. That way you can say, all right, well, if somebody says, well, somebody else offered me 2.5, well, I actually have a program for 2 and I have a program for 3. And under the 2%, this is what you get. And under the 3%, this is what you get. Now, keep in mind, they can still negotiate off of this. This is their right. They can negotiate. But this kind of sets the standards of you get what you pay for kind of model. Your services should include pricing strategy, multiple levels of marketing, buyer qualification, negotiation expertise, risk management, transaction coordinating, and closing oversight. Commission reflects service level exposure and professional responsibility. So let's take a closer look at these marketing plans. You can see in here that I offer 3, and this is done on purpose. This is a psychological thing. I offer 3, okay? So you can see that there's a bronze, there's a silver, and there's a gold. And if you look at the silver is highlighted, right? Now, what I want everybody to do, if we're going to think of this as being a psychological plan here, think about when you go to a restaurant, okay? There's always the tip line at the bottom, right? And underneath the tip line, they give you options. If you're going to tip 18%, this is how much it is. If you're going to tip 20%, this is how much it is. If you're going to tip 22%, this is how much it is. Even if you go to Starbucks and you go to tap your card, it's giving you 3 options. Would you like to tap 18, 20, or 22, right? Now, who would like to just shout out and guess? What is the most common tip amount when they offer you those options?
The middle one.
Jamie says the middle one. Any other guesses?
I said the highest, but
No, but she's absolutely right. So our psychological brain automatically picks the middle one. Automatically. Now, there's an exception to every rule, okay? But we automatically are drawn to the middle one. Why? Because if we pick 18%, we feel like we're gypping whoever it is. We don't want to be the cheap person. That's frowned upon, right? Like we don't want to under tip somebody. But again, we don't want to overpay either at 22%. So our psyche automatically goes for the 20%, even if we feel like we shouldn't be paying 20%, because we were given 3 options. We weren't given the option not to tip. we were given the option of 18, 20, or 22, right? So the same principle comes in here. Their eyes are automatically drawn to the silver plan. Now, can they pick the bronze plan? Yes. Can they pick the gold plan? Yes. But 9 chances out of 10, people will pick that silver because it's drawing their eyes to it and it seems like the safe option. But let's break down the bronze. So at a 2% commission rate, and again, these commissions can be whatever you want them to be. They can be negotiated outside of here. Don't come for me, NAR. All right. This is just an example. But the bronze. So if I was offering somebody a bronze plan at a 2% commission rate, they would get an MLS listing, IDX feed. Those for you who do not know what IDX is, it means that we're allowing the MLS, the third-party sites to crawl the MLS data and put it on their sites like Zillow, Trulia, Realtor, Homes.com, other co-broke sites, those types of things. So I handle all showing and coordination. I do professional style photos. Okay, so see that style, professional style photos, which means I'm going to take the photos myself. I'm going to edit them. They're going to be very professional photos, but we're not hiring a photographer. For sale signs, lockbox, standard social media marketing, weekly traffic report, and a weekly feedback report. Okay, so I'm going to do that at 2%. Now, the silver plan, you see that it's longer. So in addition to that, we're going to do 25 professional photos, which means I'm going to hire a photographer. For sale signs, directional signs, lockbox, boosted social media marketing, weekly traffic report, weekly feedback report, an email blast to all of my CRM, 1 open house, 1 Facebook Live open house, room dimensions to be listed on the MLS, property panorama, and a coming soon ad 3 days prior to launch. Okay. Now on the gold, if they want to go over and above, I'm going to do the MLS listing, the IDX feed, showing coordination, 35 professional photos, 5 drone photos, up to 5 virtually staged photos, video walkthrough, 3D home tour for sale sign, directional sign, lockbox, boosted social media marketing, weekly website traffic, weekly feedback report, up to 2 open houses, 1 Facebook Live open house, property panorama, room dimensions, coming soon ad, and 25 neighborhood postcards for 4%. Now, let's say that I'm talking to a seller and he says, well, I really don't want to pay 4%, but I really want 2 open houses. Will you do that for 3%? You absolutely can say yes, and you absolutely can say no. That's what negotiation is. Say if somebody says, well, I want the gold plan, but I want it for 3%. You can come back and say, well, I want 3.5%. And maybe the seller will say, well, I'll give you 3.25%. That's okay. That's what negotiation is. So I just want to be very clear that this is just a starting point. This opens up the door, opens up the conversation, and how you and the client take it from there is how you and the client take it from there. Now, down at the bottom, it does say minimum commission is $32.50 plus broker fee on all plans. Advertised plans are subject to change without notice until such time listing agreement is signed by the parties. So there still is that minimum commission. So those of you who are in lower market areas that have lower price points and you're concerned about the 2% commission, like, well, that would only be $500. There's still a minimum of $32.50. Okay, so there's still a minimum of $32.50. But again, this is a conversation starter. This helps you show your value proposition. The things that are on this list, any agent should be able to do. And if you don't know how to do them, then you need to start researching on how to do them, ask questions on how to do them. I will definitely answer any questions you have, but this should be your value proposition. You should be able to do all the items on this list before you start listing properties. All right, so explaining the commission professionally, speak confidently. Avoid an apologetic tone. Stop saying, I'm sorry. If you don't have anything to be sorry about, stop saying, I'm sorry. Focus on the value you are delivering. Explain your exposure and your negotiation expertise. Explain to them why you are going to give them better exposure than somebody else. Explain to them why you're going to be able to negotiate better than somebody else. Emphasize protection and risk management. So that's something that we don't talk about a lot with sellers, is emphasizing the protection and risk management that you offer. And confidence will justify your compensation every time. You have to be confident when you're working with clients. And again, stop saying, well, I'm sorry I can't do that. You can say, unfortunately, that's just not going to work for me. Or unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to make that happen. But Stop using the word I'm sorry when talking with clients. Handling objections. All right, so we all get objections from clients. So how do we handle those? Buyers often say, we want to wait, or we want to look on our own. Sellers may say, another agent charges less, or we want a higher price. You need to respond to these objections with education and not emotion. So authority comes from data and confidence. So how do we respond to clients who are handling us who are giving us objections? If a buyer would tell me, well, we want to wait, I would dig in on that. Okay. What is the desire to wait? Why do they feel they need to wait? Is it because of the interest rates? Is it because they want more home than they can afford? Is it because they're feeling scared, or they're feeling unprepared? They're not maybe as educated as they need to be. If you can understand the why behind the objection, then you can overcome the objection. We want to look on our own. Why? Why would somebody want to look on their own? Okay, you want to look on your own. Do you know that having, representation is the only way you can, a lot of times, put in an offer on a property that's listed by somebody else? Or you are going to struggle if you go into, you want to look at a house that's currently on the market because you need an agent to help you access that. If you want to look on your own, is this a monetary reason? Are you looking to save money? Because a lot of times we can have the seller pay for the buyer's agency compensation within an offer. So start to dig in on that. Sellers may say another agent charges less. Okay, well, let's talk about what that other agent is charging and what you're getting for those fees. How can I assist you to save money while providing you more exposure for your home? We want to price higher. Well, let's talk about that. Let's talk about the higher price. Let's talk about the data and why listing the home much higher than what it's actually worth could be detrimental, where listing it competitively could drive up the price to where you need it to be, because then we're warranting multiple offers. So these are all things that you want to start strategizing in your head of, like, why you're going to hit those objections. The more you write down, the different situations, even if you want to put it in a notebook, if a buyer says this, how am I going to respond? That's going to help you build confidence. We don't want you to script your response, because there's no way you could ever live and die by a script. You just can't. You can't build rapport that way. But starting to write these things down and then taking mental note of how you're going to respond to those ahead of time is going to help you build confidence. So when you're hit with those objections, you don't hit a brick wall and don't know what to say. Okay, so start thinking about those. I highly suggest, there's quite a few of us on this call. Buddy up. You guys are on Slack together. Buddy up and do some role playing on your own. Marlene and Christine, you guys are very close to one another. Buddy up on a phone call, or even meet at an office and say, okay, I'm going to be the buyer and you're going to be the agent. And I'm going to hand you an objection and you're going to respond. And then we're going to switch places. And then now I'm going to be the buyer and you're going to be the agent, and handle those handle those objections and come up with an answer. And it's okay if you don't have the answer, you both write it down. And say, okay, when we get together next, now we're going to have the answer. I'm going to research this. I'm going to find out how to overcome that objection. I love role playing with other agents. I think that it helps you build confidence. It helps you feel normal in the place where you're at, because right now you're all just learning, and that's okay. That's a healthy place to be. Don't fight it. And it also helps you network with other agents within your office. And remember, going back to those referrals that we talked about, you may just find your support system within your office or a neighboring office. Appointment presentation expectations. Always dress professionally. Please don't show up in flip-flops and gym shorts. Dress professionally. I think that goes without saying, and we all do that. Arrive prepared. Please make sure that you prepare before you get there. Don't wing it. Please don't wing it. Bring your materials organized. Have them organized in a binder, in a folder, on your laptop, on a tablet. Come well organized. Speak clearly and also speak confidently. Control the meeting flow. Make sure that you're in control of the meeting, that they're not controlling the meeting for you. And ask those qualifying questions. Those are open-ended questions. Asking open-ended questions and allows the other person to feel like you care about what they're going through. You care about what they want, what their expectations are, and it helps to build trust and rapport. All right, and that's a wrap for this week. Appointments build authority, strong consultations, reduce negotiation drama, reduce compliance risk, increase loyalty, increase referral potential, and increase commission confidence. All right, for those of you that want to take a look at any of the handouts that we had today, remember they are on roguagent.com under documents and resources. You're going to scroll down to the bottom, and everything that we talked about or we went over in this week's lesson is available for you on that platform. If you are looking for a professional home buyer's guide that has your information on it, there is one there that you can actually attach your business card to on the back page. But if you want something that's a little bit more designed and organized, we are going to be adding that to the marketing request sheet at no charge. Look for that in the coming weeks. Taylor is here. She is operating. We are still kind of training as we go. And over the next couple of weeks, she's going to be training and building out some additional programs. So if you do want that customized booklet, just stay tuned for that because that will be available in the coming weeks. All right, let's open it up. Questions, comments, anything to share, guys. Open up the table and holler at me because I'm getting a dry throat from talking so much. Nothing? Are you guys sleeping? I think they are, Jamie. I think they're sleeping on the job.
What the heck?
They're sleeping on the job. Joe better not be sleeping. Joe doesn't sleep.
I'm awake.
There he is. There he is. Has anybody on the call used the marketing presentation for a listing consultation yet? No? Jamie has. Jamie's used it. All right. Well, I highly suggest you go in there, go to the website, take a look at it, download it, go over it. If you do want to go over it together, I'm always available. I'm always available. More than happy to do that. Just schedule that one-on-one and we'll go through it page by page by page. It's a lot. It's like a whole lesson in itself. So I didn't want to put that on the mentorship training. That's more of like a one-on-one. So if you want to do that, more than happy to do that with you. You know, I'm always available, just a call, a text, or a Calendly invite away. So I want to thank you guys for joining me today. Today was a long lesson. 2 hours is a lot of time to sit and listen to me go on. So I really